You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. You wanted it. You got it. A radio program that helps teach you options trading inside and out, basic to complex. This is Options Bootcamp. Whether you want to learn how to protect your portfolio, generate income, or even become a master of volatility, your Options Bootcamp drill instructors, Mark Longo and Dan Passarelli, will break it all down for you. Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. Fall in boot. It's time to get into peak options trading shape. It's time for Options Bootcamp.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Options Bootcamp, what the cool kids call OBC. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, reminding you here at the top of the show, make sure, you're subscribed to our full network, wherever you get your favorite podcasts, your Apple, iTunes, your Spotify's, all that good stuff, Audible, wherever you get it, make sure you're listening to the full network, not just OBC. And, of course, if you want to win fabulous prizes, if you want to make fun of our good buddy, the Black-Hatted One's middle name, if you want to get instant access to these shows, you don't want to wait a week for the next on-demand version to hit, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. If you were there right now, you could be enjoying the show in your ear holes right now. No waiting for you. And you know what? Let's not wait to bring on the Black-Hatted One himself, a.k.a. Xerxes Passarelli III. From Market Taker Mentoring, Mr. P, welcome back to the show, sir. It's been so long since we've chatted. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing pretty darn swell. Took the little runt dogs I have for WALK this morning. I can't say it because otherwise they go crazy. I can't even, the one knows how to spell it. And so that always makes you feel good, getting some fresh air, walking with your furry friends.
Okay. Well, the one thing your dogs can spell, so they're very wise dogs down there in the hinterlands of Chi-Town. As we keep on rolling, listeners, time for you folks to take over the show. The inmates can run the asylum. It is time for the mail call.
Mail call. Time to look at questions submitted by our listeners.
All right, everybody, welcome to the mail call, the portion of the show where you folks take the reins, your questions, your comments, your pearls of wisdom, not just for me, but for your fellow listeners here. Dan, we got more folks tilting at the windmill of claiming your firstborn. They're killing me. Someone asking Giuseppe, did we guess Giuseppe, or I think we did, but is it Giuseppe, sir?
No, that was that was the last show. Wait, that was the last show.
Giuseppe's kind of a low-hanging fruit one, but you kind of got to throw it out there. We got another one, Frank going, Giorgio. Are you Giorgio Armani Passarelli III, sir?
No, I wish I was. I'd kiss up to that relative. Try and get in the will.
Get some of those Armani, get some of that Armani money flowing down to Frankfurt. All right, here we go. This has to be it. I think we've hit on it now. Gianmarco Passarelli III. Yes.
No, I think I led people astray saying that Giuseppe was close.
Oh.
It was close in spirit.
Oh, yeah, you got a whole bunch of G's coming at you now.
Yeah. It might not be a G.
So I guess Giacinto. Actually, if it was Italian, it would be Giacinto. Giacinto, sir. Is that it?
I have never even heard that one. Boy, oh, holy cow. No, I don't know that one.
There we go. We all learned a new middle name for Dan, which ironically enough happens to be his middle name. How weird is that? He doesn't even know his own middle name. That's kind of a sad commentary on him, but we're not here to judge. We're here to answer some of your questions. I'm sure we'll have more. So not a G, listener. So he led you down the garden path there with G. Not a G. So it's clearly an X. So I was right with Xerxes to begin with all along. He's been lying this whole time. All right.
Extra special.
While more of these are coming in, I'm sure we'll have more. If you want to come up with your own ridiculous middle name for Dan, listeners, you know where to go to do it. All right, let's go out to our first listener question. This comes from, I guess Favre is Flutie. So I guess it's a football fan. I'm guessing that's what that is. It's all one word. So read it however you want. So Favre is Flutie asks, do you guys ever trade iron condors? When do you use them or not use them? Well, luckily for you, are you Favre or are you Flutie? Or are you both? I remember Doug Flutie back in the day. He actually was a Pats quarterback for a little bit back when I was a young Pats fan. But yeah, we have talked about iron condors, as you might imagine. Iron condors once or twice on the show during its over a decade worth of run now here, listeners. And I got a few episodes for you can check out if you want deeper dives into iron condors, including most recently episode 334 from this year, April 16th of this year, listeners, entitled Iron Condors, Futures Options, and Washington Skullduggery. So there you go. We dove into them on that one. Episode 325 from February this year, an options snow day, one of the rare days when it was snowing here this winter. We hit on them there. Episode 244 from July 5th of 2023, the Great Hot Dog Debate plus free straddles. Episode 204 and 203, and this is why I know Dan's going to have something to say about this question, because these both came from your mastermind of that year, Dan. This was September of 2022, and these were entitled The Great Iron Condor Renaissance Part 1 and Part 2. So, Dan, you're the guy who's kind of spearheading the Iron Condor Renaissance. So this question, dare I say it, tailor-made for you, Giacinto. What do you have to say here for Favre is Flutie and your thoughts on, do you ever trade Iron Condors? When do you use them or not use them?
I do sometimes. One of the unusual activity scanners that we created is Wing Spread Genius. And, that's just when there's like an iron condor or a condor, butterfly or iron butterfly that trades in big enough size, it pops up. And, historically, I've always traded them on just neutral stocks, which is the classic way to do it. Hey, I don't think the stock is going to go past here or here. I'm not going to sell a naked strangle because that's too much risk if it's, there's a big jump. So sell an iron condor. But I don't know. It's very interesting watching some of these big wing spread trades because a lot of them trade for reasons that I never even realized until seeing what the pros do. So every once in a while, there's a directional one or there's one for another reason. So, yeah, I guess these days I have a lot of reasons for doing them.
Some might say you might be the mastermind of this Iron Condor Assance. We are all. It's funny when we first started the website and what ended up becoming this network back in 2007. Iron Condors were the thing. Remember that? It was like you couldn't talk options without seeing another newsletter that was pumping Iron Condors, and they were just the hottest thing since sliced bread. Then they kind of went away, whether it was just it got too crowded in that marketplace, whether people, for whatever reason, maybe they weren't utilizing them properly, they weren't getting the returns. I think a lot of them were going to the long side, I think, with these two, so they were kind of using them to take maybe cheaper bites at the apple on certain moves. Whatever the case may be, there was a glut of Iron Condor services, and now they seem to be fewer and farther between. So interesting stuff. Yeah, I tend not to trade them that much myself. I tend to subscribe to the old adage that our buddy, the Blackjack Hall of Famer, used to say on Vol Views back in the day. He said, "An iron condor is an iron butterfly for cowards." And I've always leaned that way. If you're a true trader, you go straight to the fire. You go iron butterfly. You're not messing around with this. You don't need that cushion. You don't need that wiggle room. You go right in and you do what needs to be done, or you get the heck out of Dodge. There's no middle ground here. So I don't tend to use a ton of iron condors. But you're right. When I do, I think I probably do lean the way you do, which is kind of the short premium route. And then you're buying something else farther out just to prevent against, the worst coming to pass. That's probably I can't think of a lot of times where I'm buying, let's say, a one standard deviation out of the money strangle. And then I'm deciding to sell another farther one against it. That's not my traditional use case. If you're doing that, you're really looking for an explosive move out there. So if I'm doing these, I'm usually doing more of the iron fly route. But a good question here, an interesting handle. Favre is Flutie. Our chat is getting derailed by your nickname debate, and also I mentioned Tron. Now they're debating whether they should go see Tron on the big screen. So all sorts of debates about that, whether they should buy Tron. Speaking of Tron and crypto, we got a question here for you, Dan, from the live chat. Frank1209 wants to know, does Dan actually trade any? Oh no, I missed one. I'm sorry. Before we do there. Option God wants to know, another one for you, Dan. It says, if Dan is mostly in cash, which is what you alluded to on the last episode, what else is he holding these days? I'm guessing it's not actually Shiba. Spoiler alert, it is. He's long a boatload of Shiba Inu. But outside of that, he wants to know, are you just long a bunch of your straddles from various names? So he wants to know the other 5% or so. What's it in, sir?
I'm talking mostly my investing as opposed to trading. And, there are still some stocks that I'm in that I like. Some of half of them maybe are wheel trade stuff. And some of them are just outright longs. So yeah, I actually just wrote an article on my Substack about the 7 stocks that I have that I think are the best wheel trades. And in that same article, there's a couple more at the end of it where I talk about some of the adjustments that I'm making to some other wheel trades that I have on. So you can grab all that at my Substack.
There you go. Check it out. It's Wealth Building with Options, correct?
Yes, sir.
There it is. So check it out. Who asked that? Option God. There you go. Check out his Substack. His 7 deadly names that he has left in his portfolio. The 8th being, of course, Shiba Inu. All right. Let's go out here. Talking about crypto, though, Frank wants to know, aside from our jokes about Shiba and Tron, he says, does Dan actually trade any crypto? Not even, what about IBIT or BITO, sir?
I mean, in the past I did. I still have like a little bit, tiny bit in an account somewhere. No, I've got 2 accounts, but they're both very, very small. So no, I'm not actively trading crypto at the moment. I'm not.
I remember walking into one of your mastermind sessions a few years ago and seeing IBIT all over the screen, and you folks were really deep into it. So you just you fell out of love with it, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I guess basically that's the best way to describe it is I just sort of, I just sort of fell out of caring about it. Who knows? Maybe I'll get another bee in my bonnet at some point soon. We'll see.
I might have said IBIT. Did I say IBIT? I meant BITO, obviously, but IBIT wasn't around a few years ago. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's go to Scoop. I like this in the handle. Scoop. What's your scoop for us, Scoop? Scoop wants to know, if you could redesign the options market structure, what would you change? Ooh, we get the mighty wand that controls all of the options market. What changes will we make? Well, a couple that jump to mind to me, and I'll let Dan ruminate on his for a second. One of the ones we complained about just on the show a few weeks ago, that's kind of always bothered me, the way the modern options market has evolved, is this notion of these siloed spread books. It really annoys me. The notion that we have an NBBO for everything but spreads, pretty much, which is what we want people to be trading. There should be an NBBO for everything. You should have an NBBO for whatever spread you want to quote, and that should be a valid bid you can hit and a valid offer you could lift. And it's not that case. And you could quote up, we were just talking about iron condors. Let's say you quote an iron condor, and you see that the way the NBBO is lining up, your spread lines up, and you go to sell that bid, and sorry, your broker routed it to exchange X, and that spread only really lines up on exchange Y, and for whatever reason, your broker is not going to route it there. So you're kind of stuck in limbo, and that's a bad place to be. It's annoying. Do you then have to call your broker? Do you have to cancel your order? Can you get them to route it away? There's all sorts of issues with that. So I think the MBBO should be valid across the board, not just forced to get rid of these siloed spread books. They're stupid. They're annoying. They're a way exchanges used to differentiate themselves. I get it. It's all mostly plain vanilla now. You're just playing with different pricing models and stuff. So I think at the end of the day, I think we could harmonize that a little bit. I would also like to see more frequent, I don't know if real time is feasible, but more frequent open interest updates. I think it's absurd that we only get it once a day. I mean, we're putting up trades in sub-second increments now. People are trading intraday. They need to know when positions are changing more than once at the start of every day. That's absurd. It's archaic. I don't care if large vested interests don't want to shine the light on what the hell it is they're doing. It's not up to them. It should be up to the people who are trading these things. And so I think we definitely need more transparency into what's going up. At the very least, we need an intraday OI run. Let's start there. Noon every day, we get an OI update. How's that sound, Dan?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. God, they'd probably inject a little bit of life into the slow period of the day, too.
It would. It would make zero DTE that much more accessible to people and easier to trade.
Yeah, I love that idea. I love it.
Those are my two right now, the spread books and the OI. What about you?
Oh, geez, man. You know, my my counterculture side of me wants to say,
burn it all down.
Yes. Wants to say, get rid of payment for order flow. But because there are some evils surrounding that, but there are some goods as well. So, you know, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, it's an obvious conflict of interest, but it does arguably benefit individuals because there's lower commissions. But does it? I don't know. I kind of want to say that, but I could end up taking it back at some point in the future too.
Yeah, that's not unique to options, obviously, but yes, yeah. that is one I think probably we'd all be better off seeing go the way of the dodo, except for the brokers. They love it. They claim it funds all these improvements to their platform and whatever. Mm-hmm. I think we kind of have to trust them, unfortunately, on most of that, where that money actually goes. I don't think Robinhood is anywhere near the market share it is right now if it wasn't for payment out there. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting things going on with that. See, I went more non-controversial. You had to just light the match, Mr. Dan. You want to burn it all down. Listeners, what are your choices? What would you like to see? Scoop, you sent the question, and I have a feeling you have some suggestions. Mine are just kind of the pain points I think people are encountering out there, but there's more. We could spend a whole episode. Maybe we will, Dan. We'll have an episode. Mm-hmm. I'm going to make a note of that. Things we'd like to change. Like to change about the options market there. So there you go, Scoop. You may have inspired an entire episode, all of your own. All right, let's keep going from Scoop. Let's go to Mike G. Mike G wants to know, are there risk or strategy changes you would recommend for traders as they progress to larger account sizes and larger trades? You know, this is an interesting question. Again, we tend to focus this show for more the beginner, the entry level. We haven't really talked about once they progress. So let's say the listener, Dan, who joined us all the way back in, what was it, episode 1 of 2012, 2013. They've progressed. They've grown along with the show. They're taking the big shots now. They're doing, the 100 lots. They're slinging size because they become a successful options trader because they've been listening to us for over a decade. So first off, where's our check? And then secondly, Dan, what would you have to say for those folks out there who are slinging the big size now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, one of the biggest things is the psychology of it. I mean, a 10 lot is 10 times more exposure than a 1 lot, and 100 lots 10 times more exposure than that. And that stuff can get in your head. And if you're going from a 1 lot to a 10 lot, that's largely the extent of it. But if you're going up to 100 lot or 200 lot or something like that, there's liquidity concerns as well. You have to get a little bit better at making sure that the name you want to trade options in can absorb the liquidity that you're trying to take. That entails a different strategy for middling markets and that kind of thing. So when you start getting up into the bigger sizes, liquidity really matters a lot.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to do, the same maybe penny names you're used to trading back in the day. It's going to be hard to migrate away from, some of the more boring stuff, your at the money SPYs and Apples and Teslas and the front month, because that's where the lion's share of the flow is. A lot of these names that we talk about that are smaller, they're hard to get in. And certainly once you put the trade on, there's no getting out. You are the market. So you better hope that trade works out. So that is definitely one primary consideration for folks as you tend to grow in size. If you maybe migrate any of your liquidity away from some of the more active, let's say the top 10 or 20 names out there, and then the front month in those, then it's going to be maybe a different experience. You might be a little bit more difficult. You may have to do a little bit more working of your orders, and it's going to be a more interesting process than maybe when you first came up and you were just hitting bids and lifting offers on your 10 lots in Apple or Meta or whatever it was you were slinging out there. As we keep on rolling, let's get out of here on this one from Mintintin for this week. He wants to know, what's your process for options backtesting or validating a strategy statistically? Well, for me, Mintintin, one of the first places I go for this is we mentioned him earlier on the show, maybe last week as well. Our good buddy Matt, he's been on the show multiple times from Orats. He has kind of built the de facto options backtester. So if you go to his website, orats.com, ORATS.com, go to their dashboard. He gets a free plug here. But you can plug in whatever strategies you're looking to backtest and give the range, give the name. Let's say you want to do covered calls in Apple for the last 10 years and they're 10% out of the money. You can go backtest that and see how that's performed over time and see how maybe what tweaks you can make to do that. So that's my process is I go there and I mess around on the dashboard. I go there usually with a sense of what I'm looking to do first, obviously. And then from there, you can dig a little deeper and does that strategy perform as well on XYZ underlying as maybe I thought? Maybe it actually works better here than I thought. I should use it here instead. Maybe I should structure it a little bit differently. Maybe I should go, instead of 2 months out, I want to go 1 month out or 3 months out, whatever the case may be. That's my process. Mr. Dan, what is your process for backtesting or validating a strategy statistically?
I go in spurts when it comes to backtesting. I don't backtest every day or anything like that. When I am working on a new strategy, I'll sometimes run backtests, look at it, see what works and what doesn't work, see if the results that I'm getting are a result of some sort of limitation in backtesting, try and justify it, try and understand why, and then maybe try something different. And that's how I've developed some of our strategies, is doing that. But I don't know. I mean, I don't typically tinker around with it like crazy or anything like that. That's just to test out brand new strategies.
All right, Mr. Dan, that music means we are coming up against it already on episode 2 of our doubleheader for this week. Episode 1, of course, you heard last week. If you're listening on demand, listeners, man, time flies when you're having fun. If you need more Dans in your life, I'll be back in just a few minutes with our good buddy Dan the Man Gramza holding court on all things futures. So if you want to talk about that and more, by all means, again. Oh, speaking of your name, Dan, we got, how's Angelo? Is Angelo your middle name?
No, Angelo. No, Angelo.
We got Francesco. How about that?
That's kind of a good one. I like that, but no.
You look kind of like a Francesco. Dan Francesco. I can see it. It kind of rolls off the tongue. I got one more here. We got, Vincenzo. There we go.
That's a good one, too. I would go by Vinny if I was Vincenzo, but no.
You look like a Vinny. I can see you as a Vinny. Hey, Vinny. How's it going? Vinny? Forget about it. But so I guess we're Caligari. Ooh, I like that one. That's it. I'm calling you Caligari from now on. That's my new favorite. Dan Caligari Passarelli III. That's got to be it. It's got to be it.
I would say close, but no, it's not close.
In the meantime, you folks can keep submitting them when you're listening live with the next Dan. I'll get them back to him for next week, or maybe I'll send them via email. You keep those submissions coming. Meantime, Dan, if they want to reach out to you with their own suggestions for what your middle name actually is, where should they go? What should they do?
Yes, well, since I mentioned it early, I think I mentioned it earlier in the show. Gosh, we do these back-to-back ones. I forget what I even talked about on which show, but check out my Substack, which is wealthbuildingwithoptions.com, and check it out. There's lots of free content there, and I give some really, really great stuff to our paid subscribers as well, but make your choice once you get there, but check it out.
Check him out over there. You can also find his deadly 7 names that he is still long here in his portfolio, along with the extra 8th bonus one, being Shiba Inu. And if you invest in all 7 of those plus the extra 8th, he will send you an email with his actual middle name, listeners. So check it out over there. Wealth Building with Options is the place to go. We got to get on out of here. The other Dan is already waiting in the green room, so no rest for the wicked for me. If you like to get all these shows back to back to back in your ear holes, listeners, and also give Dan a hard time for his middle name, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to get it all. Back again with the futures rundown instantaneously. Back again tomorrow, of course, with the option block, This Week in Futures Options. Back Friday, of course, with volatility views, and for all of our pro folks, exclusively for Options Oddities. Then back again next week, all the way through to next Education Wednesday, another episode of Options Bootcamp. Stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.